This city wasn't destroyed. There was no disaster, no emergency evacuation. It was simply left behind. And that is exactly why places like this feel so deeply, instinctively unsettling. Welcome to Fascination reality. This city was built for tens of thousands of people. It was a complex machine of concrete and glass, homes, schools, markets, streets, all designed for the specific rhythms of everyday life. Today, it stands completely silent. And this silence is heavy. It has a weight to it. When we look at ancient ruins like the Colosseum or the Parthenon, time creates a safe distance. We view them as history. But when a modern city is abandoned, there is no distance. It feels like something broke in the timeline. We are experiencing a phenomenon known as Kenopsia, the eerie, forlorn atmosphere of a place that is usually bustling with people, but is now abandoned and quiet. It feels wrong because it violates our expectations. And today we're going to explore why your brain reacts so strongly to places like this. Section 1. Life interrupted. This place doesn't feel empty. It feels interrupted, as if something was happening here and simply never resumed. The silence isn't natural, it's suspended. When you step inside these rooms, what strikes you first isn't decay, but preservation. Furniture still stands where it was last used. Curtains hang neatly by the windows. Dishes may still rest inside cabinets. Outside, cars remain parked in driveways, their tires long deflated, as though they've been patiently waiting for owners who stepped away for a moment and never came back. Look closely at the walls, and you might see calendars frozen on a particular date. That single square, circled or marked, quietly records the exact day. Time seemed to stall. In most abandoned places, destruction provides closure. Rubble signals an ending. Here there is no such conclusion, no dramatic collapse, no visible final chapter. Instead, the story simply stops mid-sentence, leaving everything grammatically unfinished. And that is what unsettles you. The human mind resists incompleteness. It craves narrative resolution. So when you stand in these spaces, your imagination begins working against your will. A chair slightly pulled back from a table suggests someone who just stood up. An open book implies a reader planning to return. A child's toy on the floor hints at laughter that once filled the air. You don't just see objects, you see the outline of people who are no longer there. You perceive the negative space of humanity. That absence is heavier than destruction would have been. Ruins feel historical. They belong to the past. But this place feels paused, as though life could resume at any second. The stillness carries tension. You instinctively search for movement, for a sound, for proof of presence. And when none appears, something deep inside you registers discomfort. We are social creatures, wired to recognize signs of life, footsteps, voices, routine, warmth. When those patterns remain but the people do not, it triggers a subtle alarm. Your brain reads the environment as familiar yet wrong. Everything is arranged for living, yet no living occurs. So you are not walking through ruins. You are moving through halted moments, through conversations that were never finished, through mornings that never turned into afternoons. These are not empty buildings. They are paused lives, suspended in a state of perpetual waiting, caught between what was and what should have come next. Section 2. Why silence feels wrong. Why does this specific type of silence make the hair on your arms stand up? Cities are designed for movement. They are built for flow, traffic, footsteps, noise. The architecture itself implies the presence of crowds. When that movement disappears, your brain becomes confused. It predicts chaos, but it perceives stillness. This creates something called cognitive dissonance. A simple idea: your eyes expect life, but your ears find silence. The sensory input doesn't match the mental blueprint. Furthermore, these areas become liminal spaces. Streets and hallways are transition points. They are meant to be passed through, not remained in. When a whole city becomes a liminal space, devoid of destination, it feels unnatural. Evolutionarily, Sudden silence in nature often signals a predator. When the birds stop singing, you hide. In an urban environment, this absolute silence triggers that same primal alarm system. Your brain asks, if everyone left, why am I still here? That's why an empty city can feel dreamlike, familiar, but deeply instinctively wrong. Section 3. The human trace. The most powerful reactions here don't come from towering buildings or hollow skyscrapers. They come from the smallest things. A toy lying on a bedroom floor, a handwritten note pinned carefully to a corkboard, a pair of shoes placed neatly by the door, now buried beneath a thick layer of gray dust. These ordinary objects carry an extraordinary weight. This is the psychological force of what we might call the human trace, the subtle evidence that someone lived here, moved here, cared here. Small objects bypass logic and go straight to empathy. It's easy to look at an empty skyline and think in terms of history or disaster. It's much harder to look at a child's stuffed animal and not imagine the child who once held it. These items dissolve the distance between you and the former inhabitants. Suddenly, this isn't just a deserted place. It was someone's home, and every object tells a story of choice. In moments of urgency, people decide quickly what matters most, what fits in their hands, what can be carried, what must be left behind. Section 4. Why we keep coming back. There is a reason we are drawn to places like this, a reason why urban exploration fascinates millions. It is not because they are scary, but because they remind us how temporary stability really is. We build our forts of concrete. Cities feel permanent. Homes feel secure. We assume our way of life will last forever. Abandoned places quietly challenge that belief. They are monuments to the fragility of civilization. Yet, there is also a strange piece here. Nature is taking the space back. The silence is no longer terrifying. It becomes almost meditative. But the unease never fully leaves. A city without people isn't just empty. It's unfinished. It is a stage set for a play that was canceled halfway through the second act. And as long as it stands, our minds keep trying to complete the story, waiting for the actors to return to the stage. We leave the city behind, just as its residents once did. We return to our noisy, chaotic lives. But the image of those silent streets stays with us. It lingers in the back of our minds. Because places like this don't just show us what was lost. They show us how easily everyday life can disappear. If you enjoyed this journey into the psychology of the abandoned, make sure to subscribe to Fascination Reality. What do you find more unsettling? The silence of abandoned places, or the memories they hold? Tell us in the comment.